Hey, what's up, you guys, and welcome back to the televised podcast. My name is Anna, and today is gonna kind of be like a quick update kind of episode where I didn't really have too much, there's not too much going on to talk about, but I am gonna try and do 2 separate episodes the week after DC Fandome, so hopefully that will make up for this episode. I kind of want to do, because there's been like miscellaneous news that has come out, regarding Batwoman, about, season 2, potential villains that are coming on, stuff like that. And I also wanted to talk about kind of like what's going on with Supergirl and DC Fandome and what I kind of expect to see from the show, what I don't want to get my hopes up to see at the show, you know what I mean? So, let's get into that. So it was kind of like a big thing on Twitter where they released the list of people who are going to be at DC Fandome, which is August 22nd. And some names were notably missing from the list. Personally, I did not expect to see Melissa Benoist live in person there. I mean, I could see her maybe, sending in a video or something, but I'm sure she's very busy with her baby. So I didn't expect to see her there, but again, she's like notably absent from this list. Katie Mcgraw, I didn't expect to see her there either, but she is also notably absent from this list. Kyler Lee. I mean, the thing about the 3 of them that unfortunately they're like literally like the leads of the show, Katie, Melissa, and Kyler. Very literally like the triple leads of the show, like the top tier people on the show that most people watch for, Alex, Kara, and Lena. And, to see them absent is obviously very alarming. But like I said, Melissa obviously probably busy with baby stuff. I'm not trying to, pry or anything, but that's what we can assume, that she's obviously very busy right now. And Katie obviously does not do social media. She doesn't do internet. She, she just does not do that kind of stuff. So, I mean, maybe it'll be kind of like HomeCon where we have a video from her that she, kind of made and sent in. I could see that happening as well. And Kyler Lee, I kind of feel like the same exact thing, because obviously if you've watched any of her lives on the Create Change Instagram, her and Nathan are literally like 2 pixels on that thing, and I feel like simply just because her internet connection is so bad and unreliable that she just kind of was like, you know what, maybe I'll just send you guys a video. So that's kind of what I'm expecting from our main girls, to see, out of who we would see, who we wouldn't, because the only 2 people on this list from Supergirl are David Harewood, which is a choice considering, his history with the fan base and how people feel about him. And then there's also Nicole Maines, which is a good choice. Nicole Maines is, obviously a great person to have on any panel, anywhere. Especially, obviously, because she's such a fan favorite that, we'll all watch for Miss Maines. One name that I noticed that was, like, I was shocked that his name was not on there was Jesse Rath. I totally expected him to be on there because he is such a DC fanboy that I thought that he would be totally into this, but he's also been kind of quiet on social media, so I'm not quite sure, what's going on with him, like, if he has other things that he's worrying about or whatever. Like, maybe we'll get a video from him. I don't know. We'll see, because supposedly Supergirl's having a panel, supposedly. And I mean, unfortunately, the submit questions for this Supergirl panel thing did not work very well. So we'll see what the Supergirl panel actually is and who's actually there, because I do believe that what's her name, Sarah Schechter, that might be totally wrong, she is gonna be there. I know that she's one of the producers of Supergirl. She's also a producer of like Batwoman. She's kind of like Greg Berlanti's like right-hand woman when it comes to all of those shows. So she's really heavily involved in all of those. So I expect her to be there on a Supergirl panel. Like I said, it'll be David, Nicole, and I just have a feeling that it'll just be like, and play the video message from Melissa, play the video message from Katie, play the video message from Kyler, from Jesse, you know, and so I don't know. It's going to be really strange because I think that this is kind of simultaneously them not trying to get flamed live on the internet, but also them kind of shooting themselves in the foot, because I feel like if they had, you know, a full roster of people who could talk, you know, animatedly about the show, who can, you know, just at least do something to kind of get morale, like boost morale about the show, because, you know, right now a lot of people's feelings about the show are very negative. You know, and that really sucks, obviously, because, you know, who wants to watch a show that you don't like? And who wants to try and get excited for a show that you felt wasn't as good as it could have been last season, you know? So it definitely is a difficult thing that they're trying to do, where they're simultaneously, you know, trying to stay out of trouble while not really doing very good damage control, it seems, you know, because we're all like, where's, you know, literally everyone else? Like, another thing regarding DC Fandome that I found very appalling is that apparently Ozzy, Tesfaye, apparently I've been saying her name wrong this whole time. I thought it was Tesfaye, but it's Tesfaye, who plays Kelly Olsen on Supergirl. She is a series regular and has been all of season 5, even though you probably would not be able to tell. Sorry. She went on Twitter and somebody was like, hey, where's Ozzy? Or like, and they tagged Ozzy. So they were like, where's at Ozzy? And Ozzy was like, I don't even know what this is. Which is ridiculous. Listen, she is literally a series regular, like a series regular character on this show who, you know, she's a fan favorite. Like she is, you know, Kelly's a fan favorite. Ozzy herself is a fan favorite. She always does so many wonderful things for us. And everybody always, you know, she interacts with us the most out of everybody in the cast. Like her and Nicole are, you know, always interacting with the cast online, on Instagram, on Twitter. You know, it's like they're the spokespeople for Supergirl at this point, you know? And for them to not even invite her is really like suspect to me. You know, like it's like, why? Why not invite her? Why? It just doesn't make sense. Especially, like I said, because she's a series regular character, fan favorite character. She's like the black lesbian representation that we have on Supergirl. So she's like, you know, can speak for so many people, and people will really resonate with what she has to say about Kelly. And so I feel like that could have been another, you know, lovely damage control moment, you know? And I thought originally when I didn't see her name on the list, I was like, oh, like maybe she just, you know, doesn't feel like doing it because, you know, she's had this rough couple of months, you know, with losing George, and then the Black Lives Matter movement really, like, she's been very open about how it's hit her very, very hard and very deeply. So it definitely, I thought she was, you know, just gonna opt out of this one and say, you know what, guys, like, you know, I had fun at HomeCon, but that was about all I could do, you know? But for her to not even have been invited is just, it really makes me so mad. And especially, you know, like I said, because for the finale, she promoted the finale, like, literally all day, doing, like, a live, you know, with, like, 16 different people who have been on Supergirl. It was so good, and it was insane, and I feel like it genuinely helped to promote the show. And it just, I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't invite her. I was thinking at first that maybe they're not even doing a panel. Maybe it's just going to be like video messages about Supergirl, like, haha, tune in for next season, please. But I don't know. People are very adamant that they think that they're going to have a panel. So I don't know. We'll see how it all goes. We'll see how it all turns out. Like I said, I'm very curious to see how it goes. And I wonder now too if, because they did say, they're like, oh, and many more, so I do wonder if they kind of did that to, well, I'm sure that DC Fandome just did that to be like, haha, there's also more people. But I do wonder if now that they saw the, kind of outrage online about Ozzy not even being invited, not even knowing what it is, I do wonder if they have since invited her. I wonder if she would say yes or if she would say no. I guess we'll have to see if she, eventually does show up at DC Fandome. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with Supergirl because this is going to be so interesting. And I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, but I feel like, something might happen. But I also don't think that, it'll be a very big presence from Supergirl. They're going all in on Batwoman, which brings me to my next point, which is talking about Batwoman and kind of what to expect from their DC fandom, which I understand why they would be going all in on Batwoman for this, because this is their way to try to convince people to keep watching the show after they booted Kate Kane, It's going to be really interesting because there's, Cameron Johnson is going to be there, Rachel Skarsten, Nicole Kang, and obviously Javicia Leslie is going to be there as well. So, and I think Caroline Dries is going to be there. It's going to be really interesting to see what they say and what they do at DC Fandome to, try and convince people to keep watching their show, because I feel like that's the uphill battle that they have to face right now. Not only do they have to kind of appeal to, or to, not appeal to, but kind of like, try and get people who are fans of Kate Kane to like come back and watch the show, but they also, who are kind of casual about it, they also just have to convince like their whole entire fan base that like season 2 is gonna be okay, you know what I mean? Because obviously, when Eliana and I talked about this, it was really, it really came as a shock to see that season 1 is almost about to kind of be thrown out the window. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it feels as a fan perspective. It feels like, why did we even watch season 1 in the first place if they're just gonna like start over? So I definitely think that for DC Fandome, they have such an uphill battle. And I kind of feel bad for them, especially because, you could submit questions and stuff. And I just wonder, like, what the questions will be, what questions people had for them. Because, it has to be so tough to not only be, like Cameron and Nicole and Rachel, who are like, obviously the incredible supporting cast for, the character of Kate Kane, but that's kind of it. Like, she was the one that tied them all together, and I'm sure that they don't even know how, I'm sure they know now, like, how the story is going to play out, but they don't know how the audience is going to react to how they all manage to, like, stick together. It has to be scary, because what's supposed to happen, after you have a really successful first season is you're supposed to go to Comic-Con the next year feeling like you're on cloud 9 and, everybody's going to be so excited. But now they're being met with, apprehension and, people just don't know what to expect and they have to like sell it, and I especially feel bad for Javicia Leslie, who, obviously is stepping into this role and, who knows how people are going to react. Obviously, there was a very positive reception for her on Twitter, but there was also negativity. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And I really hope that they, take advantage of DC Fandome to kind of be like, hey, listen, it's gonna be okay. Kate Kane is gone, but don't worry about it. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And I hope that they aren't as tight-lipped as, people at Comic-Con normally are, because that's kind of, they kind of have like 5 lines that they get to say at Comic-Con. So I hope that they kind of divulge a little bit more than they would, just to like keep fans on the bandwagon. And I hope that they address the past that they've had laid out for Ryan Wilder. I hope that they kind of address the concerns. I'm sure that somebody sent in, who knows if they'll use it, but I'm sure that somebody sent in a question that was like, hey, why is the black lesbian a drug runner? Can you just tell me? So I hope that they address all of these lingering questions that we have about the future of Batwoman, because it just, obviously, like I said, it's hard to know exactly how, Alice and Luke and Mary are all, and Sophie. Is Megan Tandy going to be there? I swear I saw her name on the list. Yes, she is. So Megan Tandy will also be there as well. Sorry, I totally skipped over her name on the list. But it'll be really interesting to see exactly how, those characters still remain connected despite not having Kate Kane to be like the common denominator between them all. I'm really intrigued. I'm really interested to see what they're going to say at DC Fandome, what they're going to pull. I mean, who knows? Maybe, I know that Javicia has been in Vancouver. She posted on her Instagram story, I think maybe either a week or 2 weeks ago, maybe pushing 2 weeks. She's already in Vancouver, so maybe they're already shooting some stuff just so that they're like, here, this is what it's gonna be like. Please don't worry about it, because I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to go into, because DC Fandome is basically DC's Comic-Con for this year, their San Diego Comic-Con. I just wonder if they want to have something tangible, you know what I mean? Have a physical, product almost, you know what I mean? Just some footage that they can play and be like, here, get excited about it. Because I'm trying so hard to be excited about it, but I'm still really apprehensive. And I know that is the feeling of so many Batwoman fans, especially in regards to Alice and some of our other favorite characters who weren't Kate Kane. Because, obviously losing Kate Kane is so hard, but also the prospect of losing Alice and then losing Luke and losing Mary and losing Sophie, that's really, really, really hard to deal with. Because then it's well, do these characters have expiration dates? Are they eventually going to be pushed out and replaced with characters that are closer to Ryan Wilder? Or are they going to put Ryan Wilder into this group and hope that it works? And hope that people believe it and hope that people like it. It's going to be really interesting. They're the show that I'm really intrigued to see at DC Fandome. I'm just really, wondering how this is gonna go and what kind of things they're gonna say, what kind of things they're gonna show. Maybe they're even gonna put out a picture of a promo picture of Javicia in the suit. I'd be really intrigued to see it. I don't know, I think that show is definitely one to watch at DC Fandome. I think it's gonna be really interesting, and I'm just curious what they're going to say, what they're going to do. I think even if you're not a super hardcore Batwoman fan, it's definitely a panel to check out that, August 22nd. I would definitely check it out because it's going to be interesting for sure. So I have some other Batwoman news that I wanted to talk about a little bit. So Ruby Rose actually kind of broke her silence. I mean, I guess she wasn't necessarily silent, but she, hadn't talked much about, why she left Batwoman, what she was thinking, and she kind of said her reaction to Javicia being cast. So I'm going to read a little bit of a quote from her, and it kind of gives an insight into what she was thinking and why she decided to leave the show. She said, quote, "Being the lead of a superhero show is tough. Being the lead of anything is tough. But I think in that particular instance, it was a lot more difficult because I was still recovering from my surgery. I had my surgery, and then 10 days later I went to work, which maybe wasn't the best idea. Most people take a month or 3 off before they return to work, so it was definitely made more difficult by that. But as far as being a lead of a show or a film, regardless of its emotional or action, in whichever ways, it's taxing." Which is kind of what I said, before, where it's like, it was partially due to her surgery, but it was also due to just the pressure of being the lead of a superhero show and the hours that you have to work. Like, you're working 14-hour days for like 5 or 6 days a week, and it's tough. It's so hard. And especially when you go from being someone like Ruby Rose, where you do a movie, because that's what she, had been doing for a long time. Obviously, she broke onto the scene with Orange is the New Black, but, she then kind of made a career for herself being an action film star. So when you go from shooting movies where you're on set for like 3 months and you work really hard for 3 months, but then it's over, but then you have to come back and do promo, but you get a lot more time off when you're doing movies and stuff like that. When you're the lead of a television show, you don't get a lot of time off. You are working 8 months out of the year. You get like 3 or 4 months off, for hiatus and Christmas and stuff like that. You get time off, but it's really exhausting because you're just going at it for like 7 or 8 months out of the year, and you're filming, like I said, 14-hour days for 5 or 6 days a week, and it's obviously a lot to handle. And I understand that she thought that she could do it, but she just couldn't. Because she thinks that, or she said in this Entertainment Weekly interview, that's where it was, I think, their exclusive interview with her about this. She said that in quarantine, she just had a lot of time to think. And she basically said that it wasn't fair to the people who created the show to keep going if her heart wasn't totally in it and if she didn't want to do it. Which, I mean, okay, that's nice. I just wish that she had realized it earlier and maybe dipped out before Crisis. Because then we could have, had a more organically replaced Kate Kane. Anyway, so then she spoke about Javicia Leslie, and she said, quote, "I think she definitely knows what she's doing, and she seems fantastic. I think that honestly, I was so proud and so happy when I was told who would be replacing me. I'm just really stoked, and I'm definitely going to watch the next season as well and see how it all comes together," end quote. I'm really intrigued to see, how they obviously handle this, and I'm glad that, Ruby spoke out and said her encouragement for Javicia, because I feel like maybe some people feel like maybe she is, I think people were just kind of waiting for her response. So I was really happy with that. I was glad that she, kind of spoke up about that, because obviously, like most of the Black actresses of DC TV, she is probably getting, I haven't seen much of it actually, but I'm sure she's about to get hit with unreal amounts of hate and racism for literally no reason. So I don't know, I'm just glad that Ruby said that and said that she, is really excited to see her being portrayed, and that she herself would even continue watching the show. I feel like that was really important, and so I have one more bit of Batwoman news. So apparently, there's a casting call that was put out for a character for Batwoman Season 2 called The Whisper. So So the Whisper is a comic book character, and could potentially either be an episodic villain for Batwoman season 2 or a like longer arc villain. We don't know. So, that's really interesting. Apparently, Whisper in the comics was known to be a former agent of Ra's al Ghul, who is obviously such a huge part of the Arrowverse. Malcolm Merlin and other characters obviously like were interacting with Ra's al Ghul, and Oliver had a huge storyline with the Al Ghuls like Talia and Nyssa. So, that's a name that we're all very familiar to, which is kind of cool because obviously it ties Batwoman back into the rest of the universe. I think that's really nice. I love when they do that. And she was given powers from a serum that gifts her with immortality and the ability to shapeshift. And this says her shape-shifting powers allow her to transform into a human-snake hybrid, which also gives her some extra snake-related powers, such as venom and enhanced speed. So this story was an exclusive to The Direct, and also We Got This Covered posted this, and anything that We Got This Covered says, you just should not believe it. But because it was on multiple sites, I kind of, take it with a grain of salt. Who knows if that's the actual name of the character that they're going with? That might not even be the name. It might be a fake name, obviously they want to keep all of this stuff really hush-hush when they're casting for these roles. So who knows what, it's going to be. But obviously, the idea of introducing another, if it's a long-term villain, is kind of, interesting but also scary, because it's like, well, we had Hush and Alice, who were supposed to be villains throughout the rest of season 1, and we obviously don't know how that was supposed to end. And then we have what's her name, Sophia Sohail, who was obviously this person who was like pulling all the strings behind the scenes, as Julia had said, and as Kate Kane was kind of trying to find out. So obviously she's still there somewhere, and then we have mentions of Scarecrow being a huge villain for season 2 because of Scarecrow's history with Ryan Wilder. And because it says, Scarecrow will be part of the reason why Ryan Wilder even becomes Batwoman in the first place. I'm just really intrigued to see how they handle all of this. And I wonder if, me, I'm an Alice redemption warrior. I want her to be an anti-hero so bad. So I wonder if maybe they're going to try to speed up her redemption, which I feel like would be in poor taste. But I mean, as long as it helps to keep her on the show for as long as possible, then I'm so down. But I hope that they, if she's not going to be a villain, then hopefully they can push her to be an anti-hero pretty quickly. It's going to be hard though, because, obviously at the end of the season, we saw her kill Mouse, which was such a huge step. And I feel like, if they had the rest of the season to work that out, then I could see it obviously working better in season 2. But of course, they didn't get to finish it. So it's a difficult spot to be in, for sure. It's with all these characters. So I'm intrigued to see what happens with these villains. I wonder, if maybe we'll get a tease at DC Fandome about who's going to be the villains, who's going to be the main villain, who we're going to be fighting. If we're just going to drop Sophia Sohail, totally. I don't see that happening because that was such a integral part of the season 1. But I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. I'm like I said, I'm really apprehensive, but also excited. So I'm intrigued, to see what happens. So yeah, I think that's all I have today. Actually, I just wanted to kind of update a little bit, but I actually watched Superman 1978, and then Batman 1984. Well, I actually just watched this weekend. I went to a drive-in and I saw the first Christopher Reeves Superman, and then I saw Michael Keaton's first Batman movie. And listen, I liked them a lot. I had never seen them, so that was me watching them for the first time, and I really, really liked it. I think that Eve Tessmacher in that first Superman movie was just phenomenal. I wish and hope and pray that they take the Eve Tessmacher on Supergirl and kind of do a similar thing with that, with her, because they had a storyline about how Lex was manipulating her to, well, he promised her that he would save her mother, but then he decided he didn't want to. Kind of like in Supergirl, where, he was double-crossing Eve in the last couple of episodes. So but in the end, well, this is spoilers for Superman, but just watch the movie. It's really good. If you have HBO Max, it's on there. But I hope that they kind of take inspiration, because in the movie, Eve Tessmacher saves Superman from this kryptonite necklace, and she kind of becomes, not necessarily a hero, but she, kind of goes good in the end. And I hope that's the direction they take Eve in the next season. Obviously, there's a lot of drama that needs to be unfolded with Eve, because obviously she killed Jeremiah Danvers. But I'm really intrigued. I hope that they do something like that. She was an icon, though, in that movie. She was so iconic. If you haven't seen it, just watch it for her. She's amazing. And also, obviously, like I said, just watched Michael Keaton's Batman movie for the first time. And listen, Jack Nicholson, he's a great Joker. Great Joker. Just maybe my favorite. Well, Lego Batman is my favorite Joker. Because I don't know. I don't like, Jokers that are super duper duper dark and stuff. I'm not going to ever watch Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, literally ever, because I can't get with that. But but I really, really enjoyed this Joker, because he was maniacal and psychopathic in the best way possible, but he was also goofy as hell, that's who Joker is supposed to be, he's not an incel icon, he's goofy, and I don't know, I really, really enjoyed Jack Nicholson's portrayal of the Joker. But one thing that was interesting to me is that the first Batman movie, it was a Joker origin story. It was people were oh, Joaquin's is the first Joker origin story. I mean, sure, in title, but it was very much a Joker origin for me. But I really enjoyed it. I think it's a really good watch. It was awesome. Obviously there's a reason that these movies hang around today and still stick around. But I just genuinely enjoyed them a lot, and I think that they're definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen them yet. If you think, I don't know about those older movies, but it just has this classic feel to it. Both of them do, that you just can't replicate today. And I think one thing that I really appreciated, especially about Superman, is that the movie itself reminded me of why I love Superman. So there's this thing in the movie that he does. He says that he's a friend. Before they kind of name him as Superman, he addresses this note to Lois as a friend, and it just, I love that so much. And I think that they've done that line on Supergirl before, but it really reminded me of why I love this character, because the movie shows how much loss this kid had to face, and how he decided to be a hero and be a beacon of hope despite all of that. So, I don't know, I really liked it a lot. I think that, that's kind of one thing that I have an issue with about, Henry Cavill's Superman, where he's so dark and he's so, they tried to, Dark Knight him, but I just don't think that it worked very well, because he's not that kind of character. And this Christopher Reeves movie, the first one, you know, I haven't seen the rest of them. I'm gonna watch them all now. Like I said, they're all on HBO Max, and I think it's totally worth the watch. But just this Superman was just so pure, and I was talking about this earlier, but I think that movies like that and thinking about Supergirl, Kara and Clark are the most interesting superheroes, period. Like, most people say, like, oh, they're overpowered, they're boring, they're whatever. But the thing is that they're the most, like, complex. Okay, listen, I understand the appeal of a complex, broody, type of hero like Batman. Obviously he resonates with a lot of people because he's not always so positive or so morally strong in his, in what he does. But, thinking about, like, Clark and Kara, they are the embodiment of, like, pain and trauma, and especially Kara, because she lived on Krypton for 13 years. And so I think that they're so interesting because, they carry the weight of a dead planet on their shoulders, and they carry the knowledge of being the last people from there, and Kara carries the pain of knowing what that world was like and not being able to see it ever again. And yet they still choose a path of hope and help and happiness and positivity and compassion and justice. Like, they are so traumatized that they could literally just snap at any time and, like, kill literally everybody, but they don't. And I love that. I think that they're some of the best heroes, and that movie just really, like, reinvigorated my love for Superman and for Supergirl, and it was so good. I loved it. And now I definitely have to watch Helen Slater's Supergirl movie as well, because I've actually never seen that. So I'm really excited to, like, dive into some really old DC stuff. And I recommend that over the hiatus, watch them if you haven't. And if you have, then rewatch them, because it's so worth it, And for that to have been my first ever drive-in experience too, like going to a drive-in theater, it was amazing. I loved it a lot. And also in Superman, watch out for those Supercorp parallels between Clois and Supercorp, because there was a lot. They did the helicopter rescue, they did the balcony scene, they did a lot of stuff. So it was, I was like, hey, Supercorp. Anyway, that is it. That is all I have for you guys today. Sorry for my review of movies that are well over 30 years old, but I just watched them and I wanted to talk about it. So anyway, I will see you guys next week. Don't forget to rate, share, like, subscribe, do all the things. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what you're excited about for DC Fandome. Like I said, I'll have 2 episodes, one focused on Batwoman, one focused on Supergirl. Hopefully they'll both be out the same week. We'll see. I'll keep you updated on Twitter at televisedpod. And you could tweet me there too. Let me know. If you would like, you could leave me a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. It makes so much of a difference, and I just really appreciate it. And you can subscribe and share and everything like that. So anyway, I will see you guys next time. Bye.